You want me to just hit you with it?
Yeah, let's go. Yeah.
All right. Here's the hot take, you guys. And I know I'm going to lose friends over this. I don't care. I don't have that many friends anyway. I've just got a lot of acquaintances. So unfriend me, come at me, whatever. Here's the hot take. Teachers aren't underpaid.
Huh.
Teachers are not underpaid, and they complain too much. You are listening to The Soapbox. I'm Paul.
And I'm Eric.
This all started out with a list. What's that all about?
So I've compiled a list over the years of things that just bother me, things that grind my gears. And I shared that list with you.
And I thought, you know what? That would make interesting conversation. Sometimes I'm going to want to agree with you, and it's just going to be something we talk about. Other times, though, I'm going to want to steel man the opposite position because I think that's just interesting conversation.
Yeah, and keep in mind, I'm always right, but Paul's just a really good debater.
Hey. Uno reverse card time. Usually Eric likes to hit me with a cold, and I have to just adapt. And that's okay. I like that. But I wanted to do the same thing to Eric this time because I have a soapbox, and I've been sitting on it for a while. And I've occasionally brought this up in polite company, and I've been chastised for this opinion multiple times. And so I thought, you know what? Let's do it.
Get it out there,
Let's say the quiet part out loud, the unsavory opinion. And I didn't give Eric the courtesy of having any clue what we're talking about today.
I've got no notes.
I have notes, but I have them covered up because I didn't want him to see.
Yeah.
So
I don't even have a guess for it. I feel like I should have a guess. But
do you want to just take a stab in the dark? What could it possibly be?
Can I get get some hints? Like, is it politics?
It is political in nature, but not directly. It's indirectly.
I mean, everything's political. That chair's political.
I have a directly political talking point on an otherwise non-political opinion.
Okay.
And also, here's the hint I gave earlier, and you may have missed it, but this is inspired by a recent headline.
Okay.
Within the last, as of the date of recording, 4/24/26, it came out yesterday.
Oh, okay. Is it financial?
It is.
It is financial. Ooh.
And it's local.
It's local.
You want me to just hit you with it?
Yeah, let's go. Yeah.
All right. Here's the hot take, you guys. And I know I'm going to lose friends over this. I don't care. I don't have that many friends anyway. I've just got a lot of acquaintances. So unfriend me, come at me, whatever. Here's the hot take. Teachers aren't underpaid.
Huh.
Teachers are not underpaid, and they complain too much. And I'm going to substantiate this.
Okay.
What are your initial impressions when you first hear this? Does it make you feel yucky?
Yeah, no, I've got a lot of teacher friends that will still be my friend after this podcast, I hope. Because
if you're taking counterpoint, they're going to like you and they're going to hate me. But I imagine that's probably a lot of your friends anyway.
Yeah, maybe.
Like, who's this knucklehead you keep talking to, and why do you want to do a podcast with him?
Yeah. But, no, yeah, I guess I've never actually seen financials or anything, but I have a lot of people I trust that definitely feel underpaid.
I also feel underpaid. I think everybody does, right?
No, I don't.
You don't?
I don't. No, I get paid more than I should.
Oh, no. Okay, don't let Doug see this one. You're never getting another raise.
No, I actually have a very, very, at KTC, I think, I feel like
fair compensation.
People, we're pretty competitive, I think, and I think that's one of the things we strive for because people could leave KTC and go consulting gig and
sure,
work their tails off and
yeah. I was offered a consulting gig, well, I guess a contractual position for a supplier for Toyota pre-pandemic.
Yeah, I remember.
But it was a 2-year contract. It was going to pay probably double or triple what I was getting paid at the time. But I didn't like the idea of the lack of security. And holy cow, what a great choice that was. It went. Because the whole world shut down, and I don't know that job existed.
Yeah, that's probably true. Okay, so, my initial reaction is, I trust my friends and their accounts, and I feel like they're, I do feel like it's a weird industry that, and this is just my first reaction. I'm really curious your talking points, but I do feel like it's a weird industry where a lot of people, particularly people that live in a county and they don't have kids, they fight the idea that their taxes go to pay for these services that they don't use. And I'm like, you do use it. All of the people that are going to school are likely going to stick around in the area, and they're going to be your barbers or your doctors or your people cooking your food or managing your money. So you want people to be well educated. So
sure. And I'm not going to make the argument that I don't want people to be educated. I do. Yeah. And I think there's a virtue in that notion. On the tax argument, the reason this is a recent story is because Fayette County is once again in the news for fiscal irresponsibility.
Yeah. Okay.
Since 2008, apparently, they have been making accounting errors, which I'm going to use air quotes on because I don't know how you do that for 18 years and nobody catches it.
Right.
Also, Demetrius Liggins in particular has been noted for exorbitant spending, travel, ridiculous amounts of furniture purchases, having his own life coach, which is like, what even is that?
Wasn't there some sale of some or a purchase of some land?
There was a land purchase off of Masterson Station and Versailles Road where I think they paid double or triple the appraised value for the property so they could build an all-girls school. And then after building it, they were like, oh, okay, actually it's not an all-girls school. We're going to put boys in there too. And they had several other land purchases where they overpaid while simultaneously shutting down Southside Academy and then wanting to auction it off, probably for pennies on the dollar.
Yeah, well, so, they didn't shut down Southside. Southside moved to the Hill, right?
They shut down the facility.
Yeah, they shut down.
Yeah, and so that land on Harrodsburg Road across from the Gardenside neighborhood where I live is just barren. There's no activity happening there at all.
Yeah,
and yet 3 blocks down the street, they just overpaid for more land where they already had land in a school. None of this makes any sense to me. And maybe there's reasons I'm not aware of, but it's in the news, right? And so the tax argument, I think, is a fair argument if you aren't saying, I don't want my tax dollars to go to fund education. That's not what people are generally saying. I think what people are generally saying is, I don't want to be taxed more when administrators are irresponsible with what they're already receiving, and I don't want to bail them out because the current headline is now Fayette County Public Schools is potentially wanting to secure a loan to pay back the debt that they created because of fiscal irresponsibility and bad bookkeeping. So now we're going to have to pay interest on top of loss because of bad management.
Yeah.
And the superintendent, who has not got a good track record in this domain already,
and was just recently looking for another job, wasn't he? Didn't he do an interview for?
He did in Missouri, was it?
Missouri, yeah.
And he wanted everybody to rest assured that his commitment is to Kentucky and to good, management or something. And then this comes up, and it's like, did he know this was coming and start throwing some applications out there? Was he insider trading his own IP?
Now he started well into this 18-year debacle, right? He isn't.
He did. He came from Texas, where he also was running from financial scandal. So, again, track record
walks like a duck.
Yeah, walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, probably a duck. So I fully believe that he needs to resign. I think that one scandal is one too many, but now we're on scandal number 3, and he still seems to be bulletproof on this. But I'm going to get into why as well. I think there is an answer to the why. So I'm going to unpack my notes now. I got 3 pages here, which you can't see because our lights are so bright. But let me give credit where credit is due first. There is a podcast called Elephants in the Room. It is by a guy named Ken LaCourte, who has done a lot of research on this. And I'm going to steal a lot of his talking points today because he has very well packaged these. And I think the value that I'm going to add is not so much the generation of original content as it is the localization for Kentucky. The fact that I've held these opinions for a long time anyway, and I'm borrowing his structure, but then I want to offer counterpoint opportunity, response opportunity. So number 1, talking about teacher pay. The thing with teacher pay and the thing that's unique about teacher pay, you already highlighted. And that's this notion that public teacher pay is not set by market forces like most jobs. It is tax funded in a portion of the public sector. So who sets teacher pay?
And we are, for this conversation, setting aside private schools?
Yes, private schools and all that. Whole other thing. We've already touched on that a little bit with the whole charter school thing that we did. What was this last year at this point?
Yeah, probably. That was one of our early ones, I think.
Yeah. So I'm not talking about that. We're staying in the public sector. But generally, teacher pay is set by politicians, right? And the thing with that is that teacher pay then becomes sort of a government monopoly on how pay is set, and there aren't market forces or competition or supply and demand forces at play that is going to influence the teacher pay. So
this is assuming the folks interested in these jobs, they can't travel too far away, because there would be some competition if you
I think that's a feature. I think that's a feature, because what will end up happening is if you've got a district that's paying poorly, and a district that's even geographically far away that has a need, because the teacher shortage is going to come up in this discussion as well. Yeah. Well, the shortages only exist locally. There's not a national shortage, but the local shortages are an indicator that pay is disproportionate to other opportunities available or the cost of living within the region.
Yeah.
So if you've got a teacher shortage, then it's a simple supply and demand function.
Right.
Because the only competition that exists is that geographic notion, or private schools or charter schools or something of that nature.
Right.
So let's add a layer now to the discussion, and that is teachers' unions. Teachers' unions have an incentive to perpetuate a myth, or at least a narrative. Let's not call it a myth just yet.
Yeah.
But they have a responsibility to their constituents to perpetuate the ideology that teachers are underpaid, so that unions can add the benefit of increasing teacher salaries as part of their value proposition. And so if you are in a union, if you're in a marketing, PR, and I'm going to even use the word propaganda position within these groups, it benefits you to convince constituents who are going to be taxed. Our teachers get paid based upon the housing tax, right? And so whenever the discussion of the housing tax comes up, we have to be convinced that there's a need. Otherwise, we're not going to go along with this. And if a politician votes for additional taxation, and we don't believe that that taxation is necessary either because of bad spending, like what we're seeing in Fayette County,
right,
or inappropriate compensation, then the whole system kind of falls apart for them. So how much are teachers paying in union dues?
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
Union dues in Kentucky are about $618.
Okay, yearly. Okay.
Not terrible.
Yeah.
Right? And I think the national average is about $1,000. But this is going to KEPAC. So that's the Kentucky Education Political Action Committee.
Okay.
And then the largest union in the U.S. is NEA, National Educators Association. Do you have any experience with unions? Have you ever worked for a company that's had a union?
No, never have. I don't know. I don't know much about them. I mean, other than.
Do you think that unions are a positive or a negative for society, for the individual worker, for the workforce? Do you have just impressions?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on the application, I suppose. I feel like, they had a relevance at a certain time when, workers are being mistreated in certain environments. I can tell you for sure I saw a negative effect of unions when we recently had a conference. It was in Boston. And actually we're gonna go back there for another conference. It'll be interesting to see if we see something similar, but we ended up having to cut the program short, pretty much canceled the sessions at the end of the day, which I don't want to get on my soapbox, but that's another thing I feel
right on your rabbit trail if you need to.
We tend to pack these conferences so tight that I think it fatigues people and it cuts down on some of the social aspects of these conferences. So, maybe that's for another time, but we did end up having to cut content, which meant I was even told, asked not to submit something because there are some people that can't come to the conference unless they present. And, we're usually able to do that, to go regardless, just because attending the sessions is valuable. And yeah, it's because we had to cut the program short. So there, we cut them short because they were going to have to pay overtime for the employees because they're unionized there. Whereas most conferences, most hotels,
they don't care.
They don't care, and they're glad to serve you. So yeah, in that
there
context,
were certain roles that you couldn't fill privately because the union had negotiated that they got to actually employ those positions, right?
Yeah.
So you have less flexibility.
Yeah, because we talked about the band. We've got our band that has.
You guys know I'm in a band.
we've played a couple times at this conference, and we're like, hey, let's put the band back together. And they weren't even going to let you bring certain equipment in there without charging fees, and
because they had to have somebody to operate it. You paid their operator.
Yeah, and it was. You're right. So that union in that context added a layer of complexity that in turn was frustrating to us, but also raised the cost.
Yeah.
And most hotels don't have unions, so
that was kind of weird.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
So
I'm not inherently anti-union. I think historically speaking, it had its context. It was okay for its time. And probably there are certain instances where union benefits or advocacy are still probably beneficial. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not well studied on all of the ins and the outs of unions. However, when you add somebody that's getting paid to the mix, they've got to get paid from somewhere.
Yeah.
And so, again, this is a sort of functionally a siphon off of the American taxpayer and our tax dollars. Now, NEA also makes campaign contributions.
Oh.
And this is where it gets political. I foreshadowed we were going to get political. And in 2022, they paid out $55 million. Now, what percentage do you think went to Republicans, and what percentage do you think went to Democrats?
Mm-hmm.
Take a guess.
So of that 55 million, that group.
Yeah, if we're assuming some sort of split between the parties, what do you think the split was?
A 20-80 in favor of Democrats.
So 80% going to the Democrats, 20% going to the Republicans.
Yeah,
you're off.
Okay, I didn't research.
You're off. No, I'm basking in the notion that I'm not the one going in cold today, so I'm smiling cheekily here as if you had a chance.
Right.
99% goes to Democrats.
99. Okay.
And so this becomes a partisan issue because you do have Democrats like Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden who are very, very pro-teachers union because that's part of their base.
Yeah, yeah.
And so now there's a political incentive to perpetuate this idea that teachers are underpaid, because if teachers get paid more and unions get paid a percentage, unions are going to make a contribution to a political action committee, and that contribution is going to go back to the people who are making the decision on how much we pay teachers and how much we tax people. Right. And you can start to see this cyclical problem of incentive.
Yeah.
So teachers' unions are inseparable from the systems of power and propaganda that influence whether or not we are taxed more. Mm-hmm. And there's no counterpoint.
Yeah.
And
there's that 1% though.
Yeah, the Republicans and their 1%, right?
What's the point? What's the point? Like, why even kick a bone to the Republicans from that group?
I'm pretty sure that's for the rhinos, the Republican in name only.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we talked about.
We learned about them last time.
We're definitely gonna get demonetized on this, and we learned something this week. We're getting into the monetization portion on YouTube, and if we talk about political candidates, the AI says nope, can't do that one. So
yeah, I suspect maybe that only happens during election seasons.
Well, I want the algorithm to know that the Soapbox Lexington politically endorses Giant Meteor 2028.
Giant Meteor, yeah.
Yeah, so go
take
ahead
a shot.
And take a shot. Might be your last one.
Yeah.
All right, so let me get to another point here.
Okay.
Because the union thing, I think it's important to have that framework, have that understanding, because there is a different motivation than what people are projecting. Mm-hmm. Number two, teacher salary is often only discussed as a starting salary and not as an actual average.
Okay.
So we're getting a disingenuous comparison of what teachers are actually making, because a teacher's salary is not meritocracy. It's not based upon skill. You can't hire a teacher in who is particularly excellent and pay them more than somebody who is tenured.
Okay.
And so what ends up happening is the average shifts based upon the ages of teachers that are present. Averages may be lower in areas that have younger demographics of teachers. But then when you're actually looking at the averages compared with the starting salaries, people say, oh, teachers are underpaid. They start them at just $40,000 a year in Kentucky. Well, the average teacher salary in Kentucky is $56,000 to $58,000 a year. And a high school teacher would be $61,000. So right away, we've got a disparity of $10,000 to $16,000 when people are making the plea that they're not being paid enough. So we've got a misrepresentation of facts that is compounded by the number of days that a teacher actually works.
Right.
This is a very important point that people miss.
I thought summer was going to come up.
Summer, winter, they get a winter break of around 10 days. They get a fall break of around 5 days. They get a spring break of around 5 days. The average teacher in Kentucky will work between 180 and 190 days. The 180 is the number of days the kids are in school, and the 190 are the days the teachers have to work as in-service and training days. How many days do you think a non-teacher works in an average vocation?
We should be careful because KTC has basically all of those perks except for the summer.
Well, that's
We've
okay.
got,
But we're operating on national averages, not what we do.
Yeah.
Because we're an educational institution.
Yeah.
Some of this logic could apply.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of 2080 is the number of hours we typically use for our rates calculations. So
do some quick math and don't forget to factor in sick days.
Yeah.
I'll just give it to you.
Yeah.
235 to 260, depending upon the number of weeks of vacation.
Okay.
And so
200. Okay, that sounds right.
If you look at that and you compare that to other vocations that have a master's degree or a bachelor's degree requirement, and you don't look at it as a function of an annual salary, but a function of what you're making in a day worth of work.
Yeah.
Teachers are making between $295 to $322 per day on average. The average person that holds a master's degree is making $44,000 to $73,000 annually. That's the average.
Okay.
Now, people always want to compare this to doctors and lawyers and engineers, highly specialized people with difficult jobs that are not easily obtained and may require additional education, compensation, and specialty skills. But that's not every master's degree. That doesn't account for social workers and nurses and folks that are in positions that are not as well compensated. And so when you take all of them into consideration and the days worked versus the salary range, folks with a master's degree are making between $169 and $311 per day.
And let's go back to the teachers then.
Which is $295 to $322.
Okay.
So the range for teachers is within the range of the masters and at times exceeding. So on the conversation of are teachers adequately paid, and they want to say, oh, well, look how we compare to other people that have similar credentials. That is a multivariate problem that has a univariate approach that is dishonest because that doesn't take into consideration time off, which also affords additional income opportunities because teachers can get summer work.
Yeah.
Teachers often will coach a sport or do an after-school activity or a club. So or tutor. There are lots and lots of earning opportunities that teachers have. And I know the counterpoint to this. I've heard it a million times. Well, teachers do lots of work outside of school too. They've got to grade papers. They've got to do lesson planning. Okay. How much of that are you really doing? At the high school level, you're probably doing more. At the elementary school level, you're probably doing a whole lot at the beginning of the school year to set your classroom up. And then after you've done it for a year or two, you're kind of on autopilot.
That's certainly fair in terms of like creating the courses and things, but the workload.
You and I have both taught.
Yeah.
My first year teaching, I had to come up with every lecture. I had to learn the assignments and the readings as I was grading them, and now I can just show up. I can deliver the lecture, no problem. I might update a couple things here or there if I've got a specific example that's seated in, in the last 5 years, X, or the current technology, Y.
I totally agree with that, but I thought you were talking about grading papers and the things that you have to do every year.
Well, to a certain degree I am, but even the grading has gotten easier because I know what to look for. And so this notion of, it's a labor of love and they're always doing it and it's an assault on the senses. It's like, well, that might be true at the beginning, but that's not true throughout the course of the entire career. That's a dishonest framing based upon the experience of the young teacher that's undercompensated for the work versus the seasoned or tenured teacher that is honestly probably either found efficiencies through experience or they've gotten lazy and they're taking shortcuts, which is not every teacher, but it exists. And we have to approach this conversation honestly if we're going to have an honest approch to
I feel we have a little bit of we have a disadvantage here because we don't have a teacher here, a public school teacher. You and I, our teaching perspectives are very different than what we're talking about here.
I taught high school physics for 3 months,
Yeah.
Including grading, including lesson planning. So I dipped my toes in the water.
Yeah. But again, my point is not having someone who's done this, for a while that are the people that are talking about being underpaid. So we don't have that. And then, I feel like you've got real concrete numbers and and things you're throwing at. And the counterpoints I'm hearing is more anecdotal, right? It's like
I think the whole argument is anecdote. I think when you have concrete numbers like average salary and hours worked.
No, I get all that.
Any person that wants to fight this is not fighting a fact; they're fighting a feeling.
Well, yeah. But again, the counterpoints that we need is to know, like, literally, like, how much time are you spending after school hours doing this stuff? And you're flipping it away like, it's not that I taught for 3 months. It's not that big of a deal. But
I taught for 3 months. My ex-wife was a teacher. Her whole family were teachers. My whole family were teachers. So I have an understanding of the family impacts, the after hours.
Where are the pages for that? where are the numbers?
You want to quantify it.
Yeah.
But my previous point, I think, stands here, and that is that the people that are trying to quantify it have an agenda, and they're already misrepresenting the facts. So that self-report data is not going to be reliable because the incentive isn't there for them to say it truthfully.
I see the cyclical picture you drew, and that makes sense from a union standpoint. But the folks I talk to are the teachers that
want to get paid more.
that very well may not be aware of this cycle, right? I mean, it's very possible that most of the teachers we talk to.
I'll give you that point. I think that a lot of them are not part of the politics.
Yeah, they don't get that.
I'm willing to grant that one to you.
So I'm picturing, and this is anecdotal, but it's all I got because
you went in cold. You went in cold.
I don't have any.
That's okay.
But anecdotally, I'm hearing from my friends and neighbors, and not all my neighbors, of course.
You got one that
yeah
probably agrees with me.
Oh, he might. Yeah, we'll get him on the podcast.
We need a beep button so we can just say his name, but also beep it at the same time.
Right. That's going to just
Isn't
be
that right? Howard. It's not Howard.
I hear things like having to buy their own school supplies and having to, because the budgets aren't here for this and that. And then, the working after hours, even through summer. And I totally agree. The first time you teach a class is infinitely different than I've taught GIS since 2012. And it definitely changes. There's no doubt there. But, we're talking high school, and we're talking a room full of students. And now we're talking about trying to combat AI. I got to imagine that teachers are now having to really, really put extra steps into grading because now you got to.
I bet they're training AI agents to do the grading for them, and they're doing less. The smart ones are. Maybe some dumb ones aren't. On the buy your own supplies. I don't have a note here, but I've got beef with that one too because one, when you do your own taxes at the end of the year, that there's a line item for that.
Sure.
Two,
so you get a 20% discount on that.
Maybe.
Okay.
But two, I have paid multiple fees to my child's school for science and art classes where additional supplies were needed, and I'm covering that expense, not them.
Yeah. Well, actually, a lot of times
my shopping list at the beginning of the school year is bloody expensive, and I'm not just buying school supplies. I'm buying Kleenex for the classroom. I'm signing up for snacks. So I'm sorry, but you know what? teachers, you don't get a pass on that one because I'm subsidizing that too.
See,
you chose to be there.
Yeah, and I get the feeling that like I can't really quantify the difference. I mean, buying a box of tissue at the beginning of the school year versus, you know, a teacher actually buying supplies. I mean,
What supplies are they buying throughout the year? Let's quantify that one too.
No. That's my point. Is I don't really think we can use that argument without.
Let's take the Demetrius Liggins personal assistant supply cost and spread that out over Kleenex for the year.
Is this argument specific to Fayette County, or are we talking just in general?
I'm speaking in general, but in general in the United States, as I understand it, and I have to make this argument locally because across the nation, you're going to have teachers making $200,000 a year in California, and you're going to have teachers making $30,000 a year in Arkansas. Yeah. So you're going to have disparities, but I think that if you go back to that other point of cost of living and the only competition being geographic, I think it's self-regulating. And that's going to get to my final point. So I'm going to sit on that one for a moment.
Okay. We'll continue with this.
Yeah. So yeah, I've already spoken to this one, but the larger package of teachers' benefits is often not accounted for. And when I say I already spoke to this, I'm talking about the time off portion. Mm-hmm. A lot of time off, which is really nice because even as a tenured KTC employee, we get 4 weeks of vacation.
Yeah. And we get a nice Christmas break.
And you know, you count it all up, it's probably 6 weeks in total?
Yeah.
I think that's probably a fair characterization. Summer break for a teacher, 10 weeks. Mm-hmm. Christmas break, probably 2 weeks. Spring and fall break, a week each, right? Mm-hmm. So you're looking at a substantial amount of time off, which is nice. We've already talked about that. Yeah. Teachers' jobs generally have a pension instead of a 401k, and a pension is a guarantee. Pensions in this country are going away, and so a teacher's pension is nice. Teachers have the security of being fairly recession-proof plus tenured. So once you get the job, it's not likely you're going to lose the job unless you're just painfully inadequate, right? And so there's a level of security that is a trade-off that some people in private industry don't have. There's always a need for teachers. If the technology market goes up or down, if supply chain issues happen, doesn't matter. We always need to educate the next generation of the population. And so the security, I think, needs to be underscored. And I think the notion that teachers are necessary for society is often one of the counterpoints in this argument, right? Mm-hmm. And you made this at the beginning. Yeah. Oh, yeah, well, we want to make sure that even our barbers and our, what'd you say?
I mean, it's the full gamut, right? You've got low-paying jobs versus doctors and lawyers and engineers. They all start somewhere.
Sure, but I think because we have that idea of teachers, and not everybody shares that idea of teachers, by the way, but I do. I'll join Team Eric on this one. I think teachers are important. I like an educated population. One of my most frequent complaints are stupid people. Oh, they're not willing to set up their own printer. Oh, they're not willing to try to learn a new skill, right? So, like, I would be a hypocrite not to be an advocate for a more intelligent population. But let us not confuse necessary for society with special. Mm. Teachers are not special. You're not. Nobody's special. Go watch Fight Club. You're not a unique individual snowflake.
We should have a little ticker on the bottom of number of friends that have defriended Paul.
-1.
We have like a little ding ding.
I'm sorry, you're not special for being a teacher.
You're special to me, guys. You're special.
You've probably heard it said, those who can do, those who cannot do, teach.
Yeah.
My dad used to say this growing up, so he'll probably give me a thumbs up in the comments. And again, just lost another friend or two.
One of my favorite things that I think maybe we talked a little bit about before, but I once got roasted in Gladman, next door to your folks.
I vaguely remember this, but I don't remember the details.
Yeah, so for my birthday, Kristen planned a surprise where I was out getting something. I think paintball gun ammo or something like that.
We need to do that again.
Yeah. And I came home and had a house full of friends that were all in the backyard, and I got back there and they were all lined up ready to roast me. And man, people had notes. It was some of the I think we recorded it on video. I might have to dig it up, but so some of the lines were great. And of course, Jonathan White gets up there, a guy I've been playing music with for years, and he goes, yeah, you guys hear that Eric's starting his PhD and he made the line, those that can't do teach, and he's like, so why isn't he getting a PhD in music?
Oh, nice.
I was like, oh,
that's a good one.
yeah.
Totally off topic. Gonna do a rabbit trail for a moment.
Might as well.
Probably my favorite roast came from our mutual friend Clay Cobb's wedding.
Oh, there's a roast at the wedding?
Yeah, so his, I think it was best man. At least one of the groomsmen, a good friend of ours, Brian Gatlin, who 1 year won funniest man in Lexington. So he is hilarious. He used to do stand-up comedy, and then the world went woke, and you can't be funny anymore without getting canceled, so he doesn't do it anymore.
It's coming back.
But yeah, Brian, give it another shot. Now, I think it's your time to shine again. Get out there, bud. But he stood up in front of all of Clay's friends, family, and folks that were now new friends and family and didn't know him, and hit him with one of the best roasts I've heard in my life. Clay's not a tall man.
No. Yep.
So he's often the receiving end of some short jokes in our friend group, because in fairness, I'm short for our friend group. We have a lot of like 6 foot and above folks that hang out with us for whatever reason. We just, I guess, all hang out at the Beanstalk together or whatever with the tall people.
Something in the water.
Something in the water. But Clay's the shortest among us, so he catches the most crap. And Brian stood up in front of everybody and said, I'm really surprised that Clay gave Mercy, his now wife, the ring, because the last time he received a ring, Gandalf told him to throw it into the fires of Mount Doom.
Well done.
So, yeah, I appreciate a good roast. I think those are fantastic when done right.
Yeah.
All right, so, yeah, I actually have it's important but not special written down, because are they essential for society? Absolutely, yes. But what's not in modern society? COVID kind of peeled the veil back a little bit on what we really consider to be essential.
Yeah.
And I don't think teachers made the cut.
Well, it's actually that's kind of funny, because I think we realized we probably shouldn't have done what we did, and we should have had the kids go into school. We didn't. There was a lot we didn't know.
Sure. But
we were able to. You're right. We were able to continue in some fashion with the NTI.
And yeah, the NTI was a whole lot of work from home, a whole lot of just kind of. I think it revealed the amount of downtime and busy work that happens in the average school year, because now parents were fully privy to what was happening. And maybe that was a lack of resources, but who was most necessary? The folks that had to show up to their jobs every day, the grocery store clerk and the guy that delivers the truck with the gas station stuff, the toilet paper manufacturer. Goodness gracious, right? I still have a sprayer on the back of my toilet now because of insecurity that I might not one day be able to
to get toilet paper,
clean up my situation.
A toilet paper what do we call it? Rabbit trail. We've always just stocked up on those paper goods in the basement. So like paper towels, tissue, Kleenex, and toilet paper, and we must have just stocked up before COVID hit. Because you
liar, you're one of the hoarders.
No. Well, I mean, before it happened, I think it was just, we were out of all this stuff. Let's stock it back up. Okay. It was lucky timing.
You're over there with your Charmin hoard.
Yeah. In fact, we did. Did you teach during lockdown?
No, I was getting my master's during the lockdown.
Oh, right. So I one semester I had 6 students, started in person, ended virtual. It was awful. It was weird. I think I only had 6 students though too,
which is also weird for your class because you're usually running 20 or so.
Yeah. So it was a strange semester all around, obviously. But I remember the College of Engineering or Civil Engineering Department 1 asked us to shoot a video. It was a graduation, like encouraging that first semester where the students graduate. They probably didn't get to walk, right?
I think, didn't get to walk, didn't get to have even a social experience.
Yeah.
For my entire master's degree, it was online.
Yeah.
The whole world was shut down. And so I graduated only seeing a thumbnail picture of my professors, some of whom now I teach alongside because I got offered a job to work in the same department I got the master's degree in as a teacher, like just adjunct. And it was like, oh, wow, yeah, you look like your thumbnail, also way more gray.
Yeah. Maybe
update your picture, guy. But...
So anyway, so they asked us to shoot video encouraging the students, being proud of them and all this. And I remember I still had my graduation cap. So I was wearing it, and I I was shooting the video, and behind me, I've had every roll of toilet paper in the house.
You animal.
And they cut it. They cut it. I can't believe it.
That was a choice. Somebody made that choice.
Yeah. I was like, this was funny. Come on.
Well, nobody had a sense of humor for a while.
Yeah,
and
that's
then
true.
we all recovered, at least in that way. So here's the last point, and this is actually, again, going back to the name here because I'll forget. Ken LaCourte. This was something from his video, and I loved it. There was an economist from 1759, this guy Adam Smith, who said that everyone's self-interest leads to the best version of fairness. And so when we make this claim that teachers are underpaid, we are asserting an assumption that that's true. And I would argue that's not true. That you can find anecdotes, you can find outliers. You can point to the teacher that is spending an extra 8 hours of his or her time before and after school doing the work, the one that's buying hundreds of dollars worth of classroom supplies. You can also find the anecdote of the lazy teacher who's giving you a Scantron, not grading anything themselves, and spending $0, right? The anecdotes don't matter. What ultimately matters is the fact that we are self-selecting for this profession. And because we're self-selecting for this profession, and because the incentive structure exists so that the individual is their own advocate, and there are political processes at play that are beneficial both to the politicians and the unions and the individual teachers themselves, what we have is a system that's mostly pretty fair. Because I could make the argument teachers are overpaid, and I could probably substantiate that.
Lose more friends.
Lose more friends. I could substantiate that if you wanted to compare them to other people that have a master's degree. Because if you want to make a fair comparison, it's a calling. It's dealing with sometimes difficult to deal with segment of the population. There's a lot of odd after hours sort of needs, and it's taxing on you professionally and personally. Social work. But nobody talks about the social worker, right? But everybody wants to talk about the teacher. So I think that self-selection, the idea that there are benefits to you, maybe you're a mom and you want summers off with your kids and you want to have the same time off that your kids have. There are things that are not going to be measured in the way that you were compensated. There are alternative types of compensation like the pension, the health benefits, and some of the things that we didn't get into that need to be accounted for.
I think I'll go one for Team Paul here. I think there's an option to have your kids go to the same school you teach at, even if you're out of the district.
And that's a huge benefit from just rides and logistics of your family operation. And so here's the thing. Am I saying teachers are bad? Are teachers wrong? Are teachers overpaid? I'm not making that claim. I am making the claim that teachers are not as dire off as they like to represent, and the incentive structures are set up in such a way where they have to make that case.
I'm not an expert here. I really goes based on what friends and colleagues say, and I hear this a lot. Got a good friend that's got his own podcast that talks about, I think, a lot of these issues. It'd be interesting to kind of reference those and see if there's a different layer we're missing here. But I like you said, and like this Adam Smith guy, whoever that is, said, I mean, you want to advocate for your own interest, right?
Sure.
And you even said it, hey, I want to get paid more. So having them say this, I if I'm understanding, I'm trying to steel man your argument. What you're saying is, yes, they should advocate for getting paid more, just like everybody else, and it's not a special subset.
But let's do it more honestly.
Yeah.
Let's not always frame it as this victimhood mentality, this falling on my cross to bear.
Right. Yeah.
Because nobody forced you to be a teacher.
Right.
You chose to be a teacher. It was a calling. There was a certain benefit structure. If it wasn't in place, you wouldn't do it. You wouldn't do it for free. Most people. And so I think we need a more reasonable approach here. And maybe that reasonable approach includes a different way of approaching funding rather than it just always being the burden of the taxpayer. Maybe we need some sort of market adjustment or a tie, like minimum wage. I would make the argument minimum wage needs to be a function of purchasing power in society. Mm-hmm. Maybe some of these government-funded jobs need to be tied to gross domestic product or the consumer price index or something that's going to allow people to always have a similar standard of living.
Yeah.
And then we decide what is the value statement of that profession and what should that standard of living be.
One of the things that frustrates me when you start talking about like student athletics is, the fundraising that goes on, because there's very clearly a funding limitation to high school sports where, you pay for a coach, maybe an assistant coach, and some, field fees. And that's about it. Like, a ball, there's some nets or, whatever. And it's the fundraising that makes those programs successful. And I watch it time and time again where, the nicer schools, the Frederick Douglass, Dunbar, Lafayette, get a lot more funding because they've got parents with, expendable income, and so they get more opportunities. And I see that kind of in the academic level too, with where they can fundraise more. And so that's another kind of funding option, but it's not fair.
It's not perfect, right?
It's not perfect, but it's
the fairness, or that, can we use the word equity without getting canceled in 2026? The equity portion would be, rather than one school benefiting from their individual effort, maybe it goes to a pooled fund and then it's distributed based on the populations.
I'd love to see that, because it really is a shame that, Lafayette girls get to hop in a big old Wombles bus with a bathroom and drive down to Gatlinburg and have a good time, which I love that we could do that. Some of these other schools just can't do that.
I don't disagree. And speaking of funding, if you'd like to sponsor our show, we are now looking for sponsors here on the Soapbox. So hit us up on our DMs if anybody is even still listening, because I'm pretty sure I've alienated about half our audience.
I'd say you did. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for listening to the Soapbox. We've got a brand new website. What is that site?
That is SoapBoxLex.com.
So you can check us out on the web. You can also check us out on your favorite streaming platforms, including...
we're on Spotify, we're on Apple, and we're on Amazon. And of course...
if you want to check us out and actually see what you're listening to, we do have video as well on YouTube. And I don't know if you knew this, but Spotify does video too.